football, by the hell.
Old Trafford, this is the theatre of dreams. Will you please welcome...
Hello and welcome to the Busby Way Podcast, episode 4. You join with me, United Macca, and the Oracle of Old Trafford, Bradley Tooth. Tonight was an awful night for Man United. We had a great opportunity to move up the table and go up to 5th against Everton, and we squandered it. Bradley sat with me. We're going to pick the bones out of the game and see what we thought of it, and hopefully find some positives, but there's not many to be found. Brad, how are you doing, first of all?
I'm okay. Prestwich Falcons won over the weekend, so I can't be too heartbroken about tonight. But there's just one word to describe it, and that is naive. You know, we just didn't look like we were going to get that goal. We were forcing it too much. In the first half, it was just a little bit turgid. We were one pass too many, not breaking the lines. I mean, it's hard to be positive after such a bitter defeat, given what happened on the weekend. But, you know, it's not as bad as last season. We go again. We've got Palace on the weekend.
That's it. After the weekend, I just felt like there was an opportunity there for us to kind of plant our flag in the ground, stake our claim, move up the table.
Do the big Graham Souness.
That's the one.
Stick it in the
exactly.
Stick it in the halfway line and go, rah.
Exactly, but that didn't happen tonight. It was just flat, and I felt that was the problem with it. I think potentially the red card changed the game and it kind of made us change our way we played, but I just felt from the first whistle we weren't at it.
But even after the red card, Everton were the better team. That's the problem, you know. They played slick passing football. David Moyes' team came to Old Trafford and played slick passing football. What the fuck is going on? You know,
it didn't happen much when he was in the other dugout.
Oh, it didn't.
No,
Captain Turgid. That was his nickname.
Exactly. And I felt like Everton did have a good run of the game. So you got to give credit to Everton.
Yeah.
You obviously do. But I think like United just did not look to shadow of what we've seen this season. I think would it be fair to say it's probably the worst performance we've done this season? Or
no, Brentford. Brentford was the worst.
I just felt with Brentford, though, I felt like when we were playing, I thought we could get back into it. At no point tonight was I like, right, we had all the pressure, but nothing was coming of it.
Oh, we're forgetting about Grimsby. There we go.
Yeah, let's not talk. We always forget about Grimsby.
We're forgetting about
always.
Grimsby. But no, I think there were positives tonight, as in, like, we were trying to recycle the ball quickly. You know, we put so many good crosses in the box. However, you know, we were lacking that killer. You know, we were lacking somebody to get on the end of him. It was always Xerxes, you know, and someone small. You know, there wasn't, and ultimately, if you were that Everton team, you're thinking, all right, we want to make them go wide and put crosses in the box, because guess what? We've got 3 big shithouses in the middle that can just head the ball out, you know? So I think we just played into their hands a little bit too much. We were desperate after 30 minutes, and it just didn't improve. Casemiro getting his booking and then having to come off. You kind of want him lingering around in the last 10 minutes of the game to try and get a header, because he can head the ball in the box, but it just we played into their hands.
It wasn't our night, I think, is fair to say, is an understatement of the century.
Yep.
But I think, like you said, to your point then with Casemiro, you said it while we were watching it, you need Casemiro to get away with 4 fouls before he gets his yellow card.
Yeah.
And today, the first one foul, that was him done. The decision was made then, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you know, obviously we're to blame for the defeat, as in the players are to blame for the defeat, and the manager as well. But, you know, when a team gets a red card, and we saw this in the Chelsea game, referees have this want and need to kind of even it up. You know, we saw a couple of yellow cards given, a couple of really soft fouls that the referees don't tend to give when the game's either 0-0 and no incidents happen, you know. But look, we're clutching at straws here. We weren't good enough.
Yeah,
you know?
I think to be fair to your point there, I think the ref probably wasn't the best, right? Let's have it that. But I don't think you can point fingers at a ref saying that's part of the reason. No. I think just sometimes when you're playing that bad, things just don't go your way.
Things just don't go your way.
Don't at all. And I think, to your point there, obviously, it was an opportunity missed. Do you think over the last couple of weeks, obviously, United have been on a run, 5 unbeaten. Obviously, we're not turning down trees, but do you think tonight was a bit of a humbling for United fans, or do you think it's to be expected? Because for me, like, this season was always going to be peaks and troughs It was always going to be win a couple, lose a couple, pressures back on, pressures back off. But it just felt tonight was there for the taking. It didn't happen. But is that to be expected?
Well, you're never going to get me saying that I think this is the end. You know, we can't look at this game and say, oh, we failed to beat 10 men, hammering out. We can't say that. It's always going to happen. We were 15th last season. We're going into the game without our two, big signings, Sesko and Cunha. It's humbling because every defeat's humbling, and it's a missed opportunity to really stick your boot on the neck of them Scousers, because after they got beat 3-0 at home, you really want to go rub it in. But as a fan, you can't now. And I went a bit too early on Saturday, you know what I mean? We posted some things, I got some messages, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, but, why not? Why not? And then kind of the chickens came home to roost tonight and I look like a prick. So there you go.
Well, yeah, some things never change. No, but I think that's it. Liverpool never let us have their moment. They lose 3-0 at home. We lose 1-0. They can't even let us have the worst home defeat of the weekend. It's shocking. But I think, to that point, I think, like I said, it was a humbling. I think that we have been quite giddy of late, saying it's going to be great. I think it's a bit more grounding, but I don't think it's cause to panic. And what do you say to people who are like, it's hammering out? People, we're going to start hearing it. It's
shut
inevitable.
The front door. That's what I say to them, or worse. Ultimately, these are the types of fans that I really do detest. It's like, bore off. Like, go watch another club, If you're not willing to sort of like understand that football is just a 90-minute game and things can happen, you can lose. There can be certain circumstances that mean that you drop off. And tonight, it just didn't fall for us. How does that, whitewash all of the good that's happened this season so far and the positives that we can say? No, there's still green shoots. And I say, shut up, crack on. Let's see if we can improve against Palace. Let's see if we can go and win away. And react, and that's what we want to see. But no, I tell them to shut the fuck up.
Okay, so nice and political on the fence.
Yeah,
don't have a clue. Yeah,
that's it.
No, but I think it is. I think there is a lot of. This is what I've said all season. This is what I was saying last season. Everything is so knee-jerk reaction. It's we've lost a match, it's the end of the world. We've won a match, Fred the Red millionaire. It's the best thing ever if we win a game. If we lose a game, it's the end of the world. And we all know that. TalkSport, Sky Sport, everyone is going to be at United tomorrow. And do we need to weather a storm? Are we expecting a storm? Or do you think we'll go out against Palace and get some more points on the board?
Well, like, there's hope, right? And what I've liked about this dressing room and this team, I mean, they didn't give up tonight. We were still pushing for the equaliser and the winner. And you think there's going to be some pride at stake within that dressing room, and there's going to be some humblings within the dressing room. And we've got a few days to sort it out. We've got a few days to go again and bring some new ideas to the table, because I think the manager's got to bring options onto the team. I think he did say that he didn't want to risk Cunha. Well, I'd have him on if he was like 70% fit, I'd have him on the bench, He's
a risk to have in your back pocket.
It's a risk to have in your back pocket, and I guess that's my criticism of the manager tonight. He gambled with Diego Dallo for Dorgu when, why not throw Shea Lacey into the mix? Why not somebody who's going to get on the ball and try and do something, That's the real disappointment. And I think if he's learning something from tonight, is that Man United are not a team that are happy with a 1-1 draw or a 1-0 defeat against Everton with 10 men. I would rather Man United got beat 2-0 on the counter-attack, than what we saw. I want us to see us take more risks,
Yeah, I think to your point, we were forward thinking, we're going forward. But I think one of the things you said at the start was the word to sum it up was naivety. Yeah. I think we were a bit lacklustre going forward, and I felt Cunha and Sesko being out the front three, it rocked the boat too much. I'll say to you, if we lose a Sesko, that's fine. If we lose a Cunha, that's fine. But losing both of them, two out your front three, it kind of reverts back to last season a little bit. Yeah. And I think that tonight for me just showed the lack of depth we've got, which is something we've been saying all season. But I felt like Xerxes coming in on his own with Mbemo and Kuna would have worked, but I just felt it didn't click tonight.
Yeah, and you've got to look at Xerxes and say, well, it's down to a lack of minutes for him. You know, he's not had the time on the field to really get a bad performance out of him, or to sort of get minutes behind him, minutes in his legs, that match sharpness. You saw he had a couple of chances. I mean, Pickford pulled off a couple of good saves against Xerxes. But you could see in the first 30 minutes, you know, that link-up play, which he's usually fairly good at, he was a little bit off tonight. You know,
it felt like every ball was a foot too far or a foot shorter than it needed to be. And I think there is that midweek no game having that rust from not playing midweek, essentially. And I think that's one of the positives for the season is we only have one game a week. The negative is we've only got one game a week.
We have to stop saying it's a positive, because obviously I would rather us be out, you know, be in Europe and go out of Europe playing, you know, the backup team to try and get back into the Champions League than, you know, being where we are. You know, ultimately we should be in a competition to get the team more minutes. We should be blooding more players. Mainu should be having more minutes, but there's only one 90-minute game a week that 11 players can play in, plus 5 subs. You know, we're in this position. We're in a position of our own making. You know, and we have to deal with it. So we've got to start taking some risks. He's got to start. You know, he has to go with Xerxes again on the weekend, because what are the other options unless Cunha comes out? But Mount didn't do much when he come on today. But again, he's lacking minutes, you know. But I'm not going to start pointing fingers at everybody in the team, you know, because it's just one game. We have to move on.
That's
quickly.
it. I think the problem is with United, everything is amplified by a million, essentially. And I think Xerxes, let's have it right, he had a bit of a poor game tonight. Well, not even a bit of a poor game. But he's not going to get any protection, is he? Like obviously you can't expect him to. All the headlines are going to be about him. He's going to be slated again. Do you think, obviously showing what he showed last season after the Newcastle game, he can come back from this and kind of work on it?
Of course he can. And you know, what I like about the club this season is they're trying to instill, like when we were winning and when we were going through that nice little purple patch, Jason Wilcox did an interview and said, well, we're not going to overreact in defeat. So we've got to show that. Tomorrow's just got to be a day where they go in and they get a bit of a bollocking, but then they all go out there and look to
business
as usual and not be too down. You know, last season it was just like we're almost devoid of any sort of confidence. We can't have that. We have to move on. There has to be high intensity training sessions. I think Ruben said he wanted to see more in training. I think the big thing that we need in this team now is probably, right, Luke Shaw didn't have a bad game, but let's bring in Martinez. Yeah. Let's get Martinez on the pitch on the weekend at some point. Although Mateta, you know, that Pino bagged a good goal on the weekend. So I'm looking at that thinking, right, do we throw in Martinez, who's not played too much football? So it's...
Well, that's it. I think it would players like your Mainus and Xerxes who haven't been getting much minutes. It's definitely trial by fire playing against a well-organised David Moyes team. I think if you had to pick any manager in the Premier League to have a very compact team to try and break down, that's probably one of the harder ones. Yeah,
and you've got to look at that team tonight that he played. And, you know, what is he really invested? He's done brilliantly there, hasn't he, to be fair to him. And, you know, they had that mad minute where Garner's slapping his own man. That was it. That was their last mistake of the game, you know. And what a performance from Everton, to be fair.
Would you say tonight's defeat was down to Everton playing well or United underperforming, or even a mixture of the two?
I think it's a combination of both. I think I said naivety, and I stick to that. You've got Grealish winning fouls, going down, slowing the game down. I think 4 minutes added on in the first half and 4 minutes added on in the second half. I do not know what the officials are doing there, because I think Pickford wasted about 8 minutes by himself. But again, don't want to be blaming things here. You know, we were poor, and it's a combination, just like you said. What do you think? What do you think it's about?
I just thought it it was a little bit of a humbling game. It was basically, we're doing okay, but let's not get it twisted. We're not that team. We're not a top 4 team just yet. And I think it was a good understanding of where we're at. It was a litmus test of where United are at the moment. And I think Everton have been well underestimated all season. I would say that's fair to say. They've got a good team. They like that quality up front, but they're very compact. They're well drilled. They know what they're doing. And I think it was us playing against them. We're just showing we're not playing that free flowing football that they need to break down teams like Everton. And I think it was a good understanding of where we're at. And it definitely shows where the lack of depth is in this squad.
It's their fucking cup final, though, isn't it? David Moyes' teams, they always love coming to Old Trafford with Everton and just ruining our day. Do you know what I mean? I remember being there at the 4-4 game where we were 4-2 up, and that Jelavic, just.
Well, I'll be honest, David Moyes ruined a lot of days for me. He was in the other dugout. Moyes, so I'd say it's Moyes, as they say. Yeah. But I think, I think it is a bit of a time to take a step back and go, we are Man United, we have been playing well the last couple of games, but there's still improvements to be made, and I think it shows there. I think one thing that was great tonight, Mainu got some minutes, and I think people have been calling out for Mainu all season, and I've never felt it's been the right game or the right time to put him on. Felt tonight it was, and he did show a bit of creativity in there. Obviously, we're coming on as a sub. You need like 5-10 minutes just to warm up and get yourself up to speed. But I felt he looked dangerous. He looked okay. I mean, if I'm the England manager though, right, and I'm looking, what did he do? Has he done better than what others have done? No, I think. And if I was the manager, I'm looking, well, like Mount or Mainu to bring on first, right? Mount didn't do much, but Mainu didn't. He didn't pull up any trees, but he does need more. He does need a little bit more time. Do we need to see Bruno playing more further forward? Is that what we need? And we need to see Mainu next to Casemiro. Well, I think we're going to have to bring Bruno forward because AFCON's coming up. We're going to lose some players. I think it's probably best to get Mainu blooded in centre mid and push Mainu up because we're going to have to play at that at some point. So we might as well at least try it. And I thought tonight was a good opportunity to do it. We didn't do that, unfortunately, but I do think we are going to see that, and we are going to see Mainu get more minutes. And I thought he was okay. Shall I do my apology for my big mistake about the AFCON, about Brian Mbeumo? Yeah. So, I said some things last week, some things that I deeply regret. Brian Mbeumo is going to AFCON. He just misses out on the World Cup. I am sorry. I got that one wrong. But Mazraoui still kicks kittens, and he shouldn't be going. And dogs. The smear campaign's but to be fair, at his performance tonight, he can go and go get some games and get a bit in him. What did he play in the last international break for Morocco? Didn't they win I thought the thing was 16-0 or something like that. I said this about Mazraoui. You can say this about Mainu. You can say this about Xerxes. They need minutes. Minutes make the man, as they say. Well, no one says that. I've just made it up. However, minutes maketh the man. Of course, We've never seen that. Very popular saying. Well, I'll see that on Instagram. On a fridge magnet. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. But no, I think I think that's it. He's getting minutes in, and he did a couple of nice, interesting passes tonight, but. Yeah, I was kind of wanted a little bit more from him. And same with Dorgu, to be fair. I thought him and Ahmad at the start, I thought we'd be on the front foot. Them two were going to be a lethal combo, and it just wasn't quite there tonight. God, Dorgu was bad. So Dorgu was bad. Dalot came on and did all right. We've been critical of Dalot, and I just don't like that we brought him on at that stage. What I did like is in the last 5 minutes he went to the right-hand side. I think that should have been the change early doors, and just let Luke run down that left because he's a better crosser. But look, we can pick the bones of that till the cows come home. We were shit. We lost. We need to move on. I thought we played okay. No, we were awful. I thought, I think that was got to be down as the worst performance of the season for me. I think City. We lost to Brentford. We lost to Grimsby. Brentford. I'm calling you out. Right in the league. Yeah. In the league. If Fredrickson was playing tonight, we lost 3-0 at home. We lost. We lost to bloody Man City. Yeah, but you can lose to Man City. You can lose 3-0 at Man City. They're a good team. Haaland's an absolute beast. I just felt Brentford, we weren't at it, but tonight, from the first whistle, we were not at it. We didn't even, I can't, even though we were on the front foot in the second half, there was no like, oh God, we should have scored then. It was like,
I'll do my thing that I say to my wife, we'll have to agree to disagree.
Yeah. They're sleeping in the spare room tonight.
That's it, mate. That's it, mate.
Okay, so that being said, AFCON's coming up. Tonight show gaping holes in our attack and our depth. What do we do during AFCON? Do we buy new players in? Do we get young players in? Or do we have enough resources in that squad to cover what we're going to be missing with Bremo and Ahmad?
Well, we've got to look at introducing new players. We've got to look at introducing the youth. You know, we've got to look at the likes of Shea Lacey, Fletcher. But it's the time where we go, come on, Jim, crack open a couple of mil. You know, let's go to the bank. Let's get some players in. Maybe test the pull-out game of Mbeumo and Ahmad. But there we go. Do
we then in January? Do you think it's realistic that we'll buy players that are long-term solutions, or are these going to be short-term solutions? Like we said the other week about Gallagher, right? From Atletico, short-term solution. Like, do you think we're going to see signing, if we sign anyone in January, do you think it's going to be people like that? Or do you think we're going to go for like these Adam Whartons and Elliot Anderson?
I'd take Dong Fang Zhou over
We'd all take
Gallagher.
Dong.
We'd all take a bit of Dong. No, I think Gallagher is a very short-term solution. He's a Szoboszlai type player. Not Szoboszlai, Sabitzer, that's the one. I'd take Szoboszlai. But I don't think we go for Gallagher. I think if you're going to drop money on anyone, you drop it on Wharton, you drop it on Anderson, you drop it on Belieber. That's who you drop some money on.
Do you think it's realistic we'll get any of them, though? I just can't see them teams like Palace parting with Wharton. Do you know what I mean? Or Anderson being parted from Nottingham Forest. I just can't see that happening. So for me, if we're spending money in January, it's stopgap signings or loan signings, surely.
Well, you've got to test the water with it. You've got to go in. And if we're not at the table for it, you know, if we don't try and make these happen, then you never know. So, like, drop a bid. You know, we're already seen Belieber started to cry. I'm not that bothered about him crying. If he wants to come to Old Trafford, test him again. You know, he's not pulling up any trees at Brighton, but he will turn up if United come knocking.
I suppose, again, devil's advocate, though, if you do put in a bid in January, for your Whartons and your Elliot Andersons and stuff, you put in that in now ahead of any World Cups or anything like that, then there's going to be probably you'll get them for 10 mil cheaper. You could argue. Well,
maybe, but at this stage, we just need to improve the first team. Anderson does that, you know, and he brings a bit of vibrancy in there. It sort of like sets Bruno free a little bit because you could play Anderson and Casemiro, you could play Anderson and Mainu, and then it might revitalise Kobe. You know, it might give him a look. Kobe Mainoo's not getting in the England team over Declan Rice or Anderson at the moment, but if he's playing games, then he's in the conversation. But we have to be selfish, you know. Man United need to improve, and whether that is buying a player that plays in Kobe Mainoo's position or buying a player that plays in Bruno's or Casemiro's position, that's what we have to do. We have to improve that first team. And the club just haven't been ruthless enough over the last few years with, you know, taking players out, bringing players in. We've kind of look like to build around the players that we have.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we spent a lot of time over the summer getting rid of this so-called bomb squad, get rid of the players that didn't clearly want to be there. But one of the players who actually who wanted to be there and fight for his place was Højlund. Do you think, obviously, when you see Xerxes coming in for Sesko, do you think it was like kind of wise in hindsight getting rid of Højlund, or do you think that was just an inevitability?
Well, I think it kind of shows the ruthless streak that the club has to have, you know. Like, I'm seeing things already tonight about Dorgu that he wouldn't be around if it was Man City or if it was Liverpool, that he'd already be moved on. I disagree with that. But Rasmus had 2 full seasons at the club. He didn't fulfill his potential and he was suitably moved on. He wasn't given a third year, a full season under Amorim. It could be a risk. You know, we're seeing now that the injuries up top mean that we haven't got the depth in that position. But, you have to take risks. You can't buy 30 players and have them all knocking around and all fit and firing and having a chance. We're in, one main competition right now as we speak. So, yes, it was the right decision to say Vamos to Rasmus.
Nice.
That was dreadful.
You should write for the Daily Mail. Just do the headlines.
Oh, that's it.
3-0 Walcott, as they say on their Peep Show.
God.
But yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I always think we should have kept Hoyland in the squad. I don't think he's a star, but Sesko is obviously a massive upgrade on that. But yeah, there are gaps there, and we do need to kind of fulfil them a little bit. I think going forward with the AFCON, do you think we are in danger of just sliding down that table? And if we are, what is the worst case scenario?
Macca, we've been beaten against Everton at home. We'll find a way. Love always finds a way. And Manchester United, Cunha it's not a bad injury. He'll come back soon. Soon as Cunha's in that team, there's a bit more emphasis in there. Xerxes, it was his first start, first big throw of the dice for him. It wasn't the worst performance I've seen from him. Newcastle last season where he got hooked after 30. But, we've got another game to go out and prove, and we've got another chance for these players to prove that they're worthy at being in Manchester United. And what this next 9 games does over the festive period is it gives us a really good indicator as where this squad's at and what we need to do in January and in the summer. Because if we're in and around the top 4, which I think we should be, then, what do we need to do? Well, we need to buy Anderson, we need to buy somebody else. But, we could see some green shoots come through. We could see Xerxes turn into the player we all want him to be. We could see Dorgu shine through. It might even be the time where Dalot comes on right wing back and proves some of the haters wrong. Let's hope that's the case rather than the negative.
Yeah, well, you fill me with optimism and hope. I've got to say, every time I sit next to you.
It's the hope that kills you.
It does kill you, mate. It does kill you. It doesn't set you free at the moment. But yeah, I think there are some positives in United at the moment. Obviously, with the team, it's hard not to get brought down after a game like this that we saw tonight, because that was truly pretty poor for United this season, and it's probably the poorest we've played all season. But going forward,
it's a shit tribute to Manny, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've got to say that was the upsetting thing. Manny tribute tonight. Did you see much happening? I saw there was going to be something happening.
No, it was just the club missed an opportunity. The club missed a real opportunity to back a legend. And yeah, I saw that the fans responded well. I saw lots of stuff in the stadium, lots of flags, lots of respect shown, but a couple of stewards here and there wearing a few jackets. It felt a bit, of a rush job, really, and the club's better than that.
Yeah, thoughts go out to everyone affected by the Manny situation. But going forward, again, we said we had 10 games with teams that were beneath us in the league.
Yeah.
The next game is Palace, who out of the next 10 games probably look like our hardest opposition. We're away at Palace. Thoughts on that? Do you think there's enough in this team to bounce back against them and put them to the sword?
I don't think we're going to put them to the sword. I think it's going to be a very, very tough game of football. Palace are no mugs. They know how to play against good opposition. You'd argue, are we good opposition at the moment? But we are. They will go into that game expecting to do something, and maybe do they live up to those expectations? Mateta seems to have fallen off a little bit. He missed some chances the other day. How are we going to cope with bouncing back? I think as long as we go at it, if we go at it from minute one, that's where I'm big. My biggest disappointment tonight is that from the first minute, we didn't look like we were going after that game, which is easily fixable. If you start on the front foot against Palace, then everything else follows. You press from the front. Where we sort of fell off tonight is in a couple of areas. I think the manager's right. We didn't show enough for the second balls when they went down to 10 men, and I think from the first couple of minutes there wasn't that hold up play from Xerxes. He had a few loose touches which kind of disconnected the team a little bit and allowed Everton to have a positive start.
I felt the thing for me that I thought was the most distressing to see, for want of a better term, was when we played against Burnley this season, when we played against Chelsea, and we hadn't put them 2 wins together. Whenever we took a lead, we protected it like it was a really fragile egg, and we were like, we don't want to lose this lead. We're not capable of keeping a lead, and we played with that nervous swagger, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we didn't play with any confidence. And I felt tonight, when we were going forward, we didn't have that swagger. We didn't have that confidence. Everything was really rushed. Everything was
It was desperate.
Yeah, desperate is the word I was looking for. And I just felt like I kind of was hoping we'd turn a little bit of a corner where we were a bit more in control, especially at home. Does that worry you at all, like in terms of the desperation that was on show tonight? Or do you think that's just, it is what it is, chalk up to it?
I've done the Christmas shopping on the 24th of December before, and you're looking round for what's going on in the shops.
Getting Xerxes reduced.
But, ultimately, we touched on it earlier. We said the word naivety. I think that's the only way I can describe it. There was will, but there wasn't the guile to do it. There wasn't a magician to unlock. I think what we need to see moving forward is Bruno in that attacking position. Trying to thread those balls through. I think it was just a little bit too much from deep. I think. The defence wasn't as aggressive. I think Shaw and Yoro maybe for the first 30 minutes played poorly. I think Yoro could have put. It was a toss-up between Yoro or Mazwari to come off at half-time. And he stuck with Yoro because of his legs. But he was just a bit...
I think naive's the word. They were
slow on the ball, innit?
He would press so much, and I think he's been a bit of a Rolls Royce player where he's had time on the ball all season. Everton didn't give him anywhere to breathe, anywhere to run, and it kind of caught him out a few times. And it wasn't, to be fair to Everton as well, it was a good goal that they did, that they scored. So, but just a bad day at the office all around for United.
We are a better team when Ahmad's at right wing back, though.
I felt that, yeah.
And I think because Yoro's got that pass to him, and he goes a bit earlier with that pass to him. I think that's the kind of the structure. And I think, we made some changes tonight, and, Ahmad's playing in the left attacking side. You've got Mbeumo on the right attacking side. And that's not where they've been. So the connections weren't there. So I think what you need to be doing in games like that is maybe stick to what the plan A is. And maybe it was the time tonight to go with... Mainu from the start, and then bring him off. Because you can always, roll the dice later on and put Ahmad in the attacking positions. But maybe it was a little bit too much too soon in that regard. But we never know.
Well, Brad, you're ever the optimist. I think obviously with tonight, obviously it is a bit of a sickener, it is a bit of a humbler, but you were saying you still believe we can get top 4. Do you still believe that now? Has your thoughts on anything changed at all?
No, it doesn't change because, ultimately, one swallow doesn't make a summer or whatever the saying is, I think that's a very old saying.
And I think it's very, very apt for the conversation we're having now. But I think, to your point there, if we are going to break into this top 4 or 5, where I think 5 is where we should be aiming for, is like you've got to look at teams like your Villas and like your Tottenhams and your Brightons. They're all dropping points similar to us. So it's not the end of the world in that respect, because they're going to drop points against Everton. They're going to drop points against these kind of mid-table clubs, I suppose, for want of a better term. So it's not all doom and gloom then.
Not all doom and gloom. We have to look for the future. We have to look to see how long Sesko's going to be out for, if we can get him back in and get him firing, because that's important. Because we talked about Højlund, and what disturbed him early was those injuries that he had when he just started to get going. I remember he had a nice hot vein of form, and then he got injured, and then he didn't score for like 12 games, and then he scored, and then he was injured, and then he scored, and then he was injured, and it's like, what do we need? We need to sort of get Sesko fit and firing and maintain him and maintain Xerxes as well.
Yeah, I've got to say, this podcast is a lot easier and a lot more fun to do when United haven't been beaten. So
It is. But, you know, I always have fun with this because, like, the whole reason why me and you are doing this, let's have it right. We're disappointed with the silent, with the overbearing minority of Manchester United, quote unquote, fans. We're doing this because, you know, not everyone, we're pissed off, right? Yeah, we want to think the manager's done this but when the cold light of day strikes, we know that we've been all right this season. We know that there's better times to come. We know that there's things are on the up, and we're certainly not going to be calling for managers' heads. One of us will probably be on Sky Sports tomorrow defending the manager or defending the club, and we kind of have to stick to that because something has got to change. We can't just be turning around managers and not giving them time to get it right, you know.
Exactly. Well, we'll keep the red flag flying high, as they say. But I think that's it for today. Then we're wrapping up now. Absolute pleasure as always. Be sat with you.
We're not going to look forward to. We've looked forward to Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
We've wrapped.
We just keep looking forward.
We keep looking
we
forward.
Go again.
We don't look back. We go again. And yeah, it was a really shit night.
Yeah, terrible night at the office. But on that bombshell, yeah, obviously, thanks for listening and tuning in, guys.
Can I have a hug?
Yeah, this is air hug. That was us hugging on the mic. No, but yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Obviously, episode 4. Give us a follow, like, and subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff on social media channels. Keep spreading word about the Busby Way, and
pass the pod to another United fan.
Yeah, pass it to a Liverpool fan. I'm sure they'll enjoy it too. All right, cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Football, by the hell. Old Trafford, this is the future of dreams. Will you please welcome